Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Today on CityCast Denver, the Buffs are back on the field this week, but Coach Prime may be losing his shine. Then our most famous burrito brand lost its CEO, but how Denver is Chipotle anymore anyway? Me and producer Paul Caroli are talking about these stories and responding to your thoughts on landlords versus renters and AC and DPS. Today is Tuesday, August 27th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Hi, Paul.
Hey, good morning, Bree.
Good morning.
You just got back from Glenwood Springs.
Oh, my God.
How was it?
Amazing. It was overcast and a little bit chilly. It was perfect, honestly. I know you and I were talking about this off mic, that there's specific times that you like to go to a hot springs in the season versus...
Yes, I've only just realized this, that some people prefer summer hot springs and some people prefer winter.
Yeah, and I had never thought of that because I like both.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I'm definitely a winter guy.
I can see it. You kind of get the quote unquote benefits a little more. The hot to the cold.
Maybe the summer people have their own idea of what the benefits are.
They just don't like to be cold. But I will say, so Glenwood Springs recently upped their game with these Yampa mineral baths.
A Denver designer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They're beautiful, and they have a cold plunge pool. They have two.
Do you like a cold plunge?
I don't, but my bananas husband does.
I'm sure he does.
He and all those other crazy dads were in there as long as they possibly could. You could see the dad competition happening in there. Like, I'm staying in here, and not only am I staying in here, I don't look stressed about it. I walked in and was like,
great.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. And I'm like, no, I walked in, walked right back out. I was like, this is insane. I'm on vacation. What is this about?
But I don't like a cold plunge.
So, well, if you do, they have two. But if you don't, they have multiple options of other temperatures of baths, not just like the hot pool and
which is cool.
The medium pool. So
it's kind of like an arms race out there in Glenwood right now with the hot springs. Because the Iron Mountain people, they just expanded too.
Yeah.
And that's a good one.
And that one hasn't been around that long, and they've already remodeled. So I think, honestly, I liked that it gave Glenwood a little kick in the pants to get moving and upgrade. And they did. It looks great.
Did they charge more?
I don't remember. The thing is, we go to the lodge and it's built into your room.
I've never done that before.
I think it's worth it if you're going to swim more than once. So that's just my hot tip. But
that is a good tip.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hot spring report.
That's the local hot springs report. Let's get to the actual news, which is we're talking about Coach Prime.
We're talking about football.
Are you ready for some football? Deion Sanders in the news again.
As you know, I'm a big football fan, so I'm ready.
For longtime listeners, you'll know that Paul has all but abandoned hockey, and now he likes football.
I mean, I like hockey too, but I mean, a few years ago, I just decided it was better to be a football fan in this city. And you know what? It is.
The drama.
It's better. The drama's fun. You know, the game, if you learn the rules, it's interesting. You just follow the best players, figure out what they're doing, and you're like, that's the guy. He's doing that. That's good.
Well, Coach Prime is a celebrity in his own right, and it was a big deal.
He's bigger than football. He's doing his own. He's a media empire
to himself. Yes, yeah. He has a show, but he's in the news again, and I don't know if it's for great reasons, but what's going on? What's this situation with Coach Prime?
Last Friday, our friend, returning guest, Joshua Emerson, he alluded to this situation with the press, and that got me interested. And then I was like, what's happening with Coach Prime? And I saw a quote from him over the weekend about their home opener, the CU Buffs, is this Thursday night. It's an ESPN broadcast. It's prime time at Folsom Field in Boulder, and it's not sold out.
And this is not usual because since Prime...
He sold out every game for them last year.
Ooh.
Everyone was excited about Coach Prime, and now something has happened. In the 1 year since the whole mania started over this guy to now, the bloom is off the rose.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if these things are related, but I read in Corey Hutchins' newsletter this week that he's had a little bit of an adversarial relationship with the press, and it's kind of gotten serious.
Yeah, I think the latest was this dust up with the Denver Post, which alluded to a series of previous controversies. He's had a very antagonistic relationship towards the press, I think because he knows that he doesn't need them.
Yeah.
Because he has his own. He can speak directly to people on social media.
Absolutely.
Or through any of his family members' social media pages. His sons, of course, are the stars of the team. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, who should be great this year. And Shiloh Sanders, he plays on defense somewhere. But anyway, so the dust up, this most recent one was with the Denver Post, like I said. And the Post themselves reported that, I think it was last week, the CU athletics department informed the Denver Post that Coach Prime will no longer be taking questions from columnist Sean Keeler due to a, quote, series of sustained personal attacks. And when asked for specific examples of these attacks, the CU sports information staffer cited the use of such phrases as, quote, false prophet, deposition Dion, Planet Prime, Bruce Lee of BS, the Dion Kool-Aid, and circus, which are all very funny.
Yeah, I'm laughing because they're funny, but also like this seems par for the course for sports reporting. A lot of it is these sort of jabs back and forth with name calling. I don't know. I mean,
it's kind of like pro wrestling stuff too.
It does feel a little bit like
they're
that.
playing into the competitive, it's all a game, who's going to win, who's going to lose, who's the villain, who's the hero. This is how fans see games too. Like when you're cheering for your guy, he's the hero, he's the champion. He gets traded to the other team, he's the dreaded bastard, we hate him, send him to hell.
This is how as a Nuggets fan, this is how I feel about the Lakers.
For sure.
I hate them.
Yeah.
So I guess I see this as sort of normal for reporting. But like you said, Coach Prime doesn't need the media. So he kind of gets to dictate what it does with him, it sounds like.
Well, a little bit. And that gets to this bigger tension within, who does he have to answer to?
Right.
Because he has this big fat contract with CU, and they gave him all these concessions to give him more power and more leeway to like reshape the football program in his image, essentially, because they saw a lot of potential for growth if the team was able to be good for the first time in 20 years. But then, now we're kind of dealing with the consequences of that, how exactly he does operate the program and what that reflects back on CU. Like in this case, I don't think being this antagonistic towards the paper of record in our state is going to make it more appealing for, aspiring freshmen to matriculate at the various CU campuses.
Yeah, I kind of feel like someone should have told Coach Sanders to just buck up a little bit.
I know, a little bit, but also, this is not an isolated incident. Like I said, I clicked on a few of the links to all of these funny nicknames that Sean Keeler gave him. Each one of them linked back to the story where this, he came up with this one. So just one of them was, I thought this was an interesting exchange. This is from the story where the deposition Dion name came from.
Yeah, that was a curious one.
Yeah, so Sean Keeler was talking about a press conference. That's deposition Dion was the name he gave this attitude that Sanders had taken on when he was 4-8 at the time. That was the team's record. So remember, they started 3-0, hugely successful, very exciting, and then they started losing. So Deion Sanders at the table for the press conference was like Dion on the witness stand. I'm quoting from the article. The one from the tell-all books and magazine stories, usually out of Texas where bridges burned, yelling at everyone, yelling at no one. I'm not doing anything with CBS. Next question, Sanders said after KCNC reporter Eric Christensen introduced himself. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It's above that. It ain't got nothing to do with you. I got love for you. I appreciate and respect you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. They know what they did. So this is what he said at a press conference to a reporter asking a question.
Wow.
And so then Keeler goes and was like, what did CBS do?
Yeah,
because
what was
it wasn't
the
this
offending
guy.
problem?
This was just a beat reporter. And Keeler found a couple of articles from like CBSSports.com, like CBS generally, they have
the
local
larger
affiliates
network.
and then the broad thing. And he was like, CBS had a listicle of like top coaches in this league and they ranked Deion Sanders 15th out of 16. And he seems like that's what he was upset about. And that's why he didn't take a question from that reporter that day.
This reminds me a little bit of being a music critic and the change in the last 10 years around criticism, where a lot of artists don't believe that it's necessary. So if they don't like your review of their record, their fans will go after that writer and tell them that they have wronged their favorite musician. And
Interesting.
It's just kind of like, you can't, I understand some criticism is harsh and maybe feels more personal in an attack or something. But that to me is very, I don't know, pretty a vanilla thing. It's a listicle.
I know it's very weird that he would be that sensitive about something like that. But this is who he is. He cares about the media. He cares about how he's represented. But I think for me the point is like whether you're a football star or a musician, how you deal with the press, regardless of if you work with people or you're antagonistic, you are building your brand.
True.
It's whether or not you're going to control and have influence over it or totally lose control.
Yeah, and sometimes you lose control by trying to be too involved in it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. You can be too nice. You can be too cozy.
Yes, and that doesn't come off well either. So it is definitely an interesting thing to be watching. I'll be curious how this continues to roll out because, like you said, Denver Post, paper of record, they have to be able to talk to him at some point.
Maybe.
But maybe they never will. How would you... have you ever thought about this from the reporter perspective? I mean, you and I have never been sports reporters, but...
No, I don't know. I don't know if it would be that different from anything else. You know, like if I'm a reporter, I want to ask about things I'm interested in. And if someone says no, then maybe that becomes the story. That's their opacity.
Absolutely. That's still it's an answer whether, we like it or not. And that's kind of what he's doing here.
Like a few years ago when I wanted to go into that plant-based protein factory that JBS, the big meatpacking conglomerate, was setting up here in Denver, and they were like, no tours. That's interesting. Why not?
Yeah. Why do you not want me to see?
Yeah.
So guess we'll see how this goes because he's not going to stop being in the news.
No, he's certainly not. I mean, who knows how the team will do this year? I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to that much of the Buff stuff, but if he wins, he'll be the hero again.
Yeah, that might dictate what happens next, really, is on the team, which is what we should really care about.
This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Because school's back in session, and inevitably, we all know, that means there's going to be some kind of bug going around. So I've got a question for the parents out there. Did you know that Denver Health offers a free convenience service right in your child's school? They're called School-Based Health Centers, or SBHCs, and they're here to keep your kids healthy. Imagine having a doctor's office, mental health services, dental and preventative care, all available right at your kid's school. That's what Denver Health's SBHCs offer to students at Denver Public Schools. There's no need to take time off work or worry about long waits. Healthcare is there when your child needs it. With healthcare on campus, students miss fewer classes, stay healthier, and perform better academically. Denver Health's pediatric team saw more than 16,000 students last year. Care is available at no cost to families, and siblings of DPS students up to the age of 21 can receive care at no cost as well. Visit denverhealth.org/SBHC to learn more today. That's denverhealth.org/SBHC. This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon. Palisade peaches, Rocky Ford melons, Olathe sweet corn, and Pueblo chilies. All four of Colorado's most beloved local fruits and vegetables are in season right now, and you can get them all from Pine Melon. It's a great new grocery delivery service starting up right here in Denver, and they're offering $100 off your first order with the code Labor Day. So, if I may just connect the dots for you here, that means you can get perfectly ripe peaches, corn, melons, and chilies delivered to your home today, essentially for free. And it is so convenient. If you can't make it to the farmer's market, you can get the farmer's market delivered with Pine Melon. Even when the farmer's market's closed for the season, Pine Melon is your source for fresh produce and goods all year round. Plus, the peace of mind you get from knowing where your food comes from, all while supporting the local Colorado community. So visit pinemelon.com today, and don't forget the code Labor Day for $100 off your first order.
One more part of the Buff story is there's some other things going on with how sponsorships I'm sorry, this is very over my head,
It's
Paul.
super complicated.
Would you explain it?
Well, the big story is a change in the football, in the college athletics world. Now, it's been very controversial a long time. You know, these college football programs, they make tons of money for their universities. They get a lot of attention for their universities, but the players don't get paid anything. At least that's how it used to be. Now they have this new program called NIL, which stands for Name, Identity, and Likeness. And it's a way for people affiliated with the university to raise money and connect players with sponsorship deals. So these players can make some money. Like you'll see some of the top basketball players during the NCAA do like, Subway ads and stuff like that.
Which they should be able to do if these ginormous institutions are making money off of them. But I know it's not that simple.
It's very complicated. Yeah. I'm not going to claim to understand all the implications of a program like this. But the thing with Deion Sanders in this program is, again, part of the reason why CU brought him in was so he could help professionalize this institution and like prepare these players for, maybe it's pro football, but maybe it's like media careers. And for him, he's perfectly placed to take advantage of a program like this because he has this outsized celebrity. So we learned recently how it's been going. Sports Illustrated got a hold of this letter written by a gentleman named Trevor Riley, who until recently was the special teams coordinator for the CU Buffs under Deion Sanders. They had worked together at Jackson State, where Sanders used to be the coach, and he came over to do the same thing with the Buffs, which was run special teams, but also do a lot of this NIL work and help connect funders with athletes and help build that side of the program. So the school itself is more attractive for talented young prospects to come to because they know they might be able to.
They might get these brand deals or yeah.
And some of the bigger schools have like really sophisticated operations. I can
only imagine, yeah.
So like I said, Sports Illustrated published some quotes from this letter from Trevor Riley. And based on these quotes, it sounds like he's got a little bit of sour grapes going on because he resigned on August 1st. And he was talking about this tension that he had, not with the athletic program, not with Deion Sanders, but with the administrators at CU over how he's been operating. Specifically, some travel he did to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia around the holidays last year, where he was trying to raise money from the Saudi Public Investment Fund. The state owned, so this is where all their oil money goes. They make investments all over the world. They like bought golf, basically, the whole
That's
Live
right.
Golf
I
League.
knew they were invested in some other sport.
Yeah. Deion Sanders apparently sent their old special teams coordinator to Riyadh to get some of that Live Golf money.
I mean, I can see from Coach Prime's perspective, like money's money. This is where we got money before. Go check it out. See if they got some money.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I know some people probably feel that way about the Saudi government, but I know a lot of people feel very differently.
Fair. No, totally. I'm just thinking from his perspective, he's probably seen money come from a lot of different places. So
anyway, here was the key quote from Trevor Riley in this piece. He says, "I even went to Saudi Arabia and got a meeting with the Saudis who were interested in pursuing business. I have email receipts to prove it, and you guys let it fall flat on its face."
Oh, so
to me, he's alluding to the CU administrators saying, we don't want the Saudi government giving any money to our athletes. We don't want that noise. We don't want that story out there because they're concerned with their reputation in a different way.
Yeah, that I can see that being a tough sell of a story. A lot of explaining to do that people don't want to hear. They see a headline.
I know. It's fascinating. It's all the Prime effect to me. The Prime effect year 2.
Again, like most things, I'll be interested to see in a year where we are with the team, with the money, with these disputes, with this like struggle between the academic side and the sports side and understanding it. And I mean, this is not a new thought by any means, but I know Coach Prime has been such an interesting figure because he, as Deion Sanders, was the social media star before social media. Like he knew how to do that in the press and the world in the 90s before we really had this direct avenue to the consumers themselves. So yeah, it's definitely made football in Boulder more interesting to me, someone who's never paid attention to it.
It's got these huge implications for one of our biggest university system, our biggest school in this state. It matters.
So we'll see. All right, next story. I love this story because it brings two things that you and I love together. You're a unabashed Chipotle head.
My favorite restaurant.
Your favorite restaurant. And I am a Starbucks fanatic at least a decade going strong. But what are these two companies? Why are they in the same sentence right now?
Well, they were two ships in the night last week. There was a little bit of corporate poaching going on. Starbucks, which has been on the skids for the last few years,
yes,
having some troubles. They hired a new CEO from Chipotle. Chipotle's CEO, Brian Niccol, who had led the Denver style. What do I call them again? Mission style burrito company since 2018.
And he led them through some pretty tough stuff, and brought them out on top here.
Well, controversially for us Denverites, the main thing he did was he moved their headquarters away from Denver because
to California, of all places.
He's such a big California boy. He refused to move. He moved the entire company to where he lives in Newport Beach instead of coming here.
Imagine being that powerful. You're like, they offered me a job and I'm making them move.
Crazy. Apparently they relocated 400 jobs when they moved the HQ.
Wow.
And I've heard from some folks who work there that they only actually had 10% of the real humans move with their jobs. So like 90% of the workforce of their headquarters turned over with that move.
Oh.
So it's not the same Chipotle it used to be.
Wow. So you're not saying like they just started working remotely. You're saying they did not come with the company.
No, they just left the company.
But the company has been doing well?
Yes, this new Chipotle, this post move, this California Chipotle, post E. coli scandal. That was the whole reason why they brought in the new CEO. They had some turnover.
That's a really hard
founder,
thing to
Steve
get
Hell's
over.
left. Yeah, that was a real blow to the company. But yeah, ever since he's been running the company, they've been doing great. I mean, they get a lot of bad press right now for portion sizes not being good or not being consistent. But the company itself has been hugely successful. Never before were they this successful. Even at their peak under Steve Ells, the share price was like $14 a share. And now it's up to like 50, 60.
Wow. And you told me earlier this guy came from Taco Bell.
Yes, previously his last job was to run Taco Bell from 2011 to 2018. He stewarded that company through the Doritos Locos Taco launch,
which
hugely successful.
Also feels like a staple of the menu at this point. So
totally.
But this is interesting to me because as a Starbucks customer, I have to say for the last few years, I've been like, what are they doing?
They've been a little rudderless.
They rolled out a bunch of weird energy drinks. They have energy drinks with boba in them, maybe. They're kind of on the fence, like, are we a fast food restaurant? They do a lot of food, which is, if you watch, it's not good, but if you watch them make the food, it's just put it in a high-speed oven microwave thing. And
yeah, I don't love it. It's
not good. So I can see where they might need somebody with a vision, because I'm a customer and I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, that's the question. They definitely pursued him like really keenly. They wanted Brian Niccol. This was their guy. Like, I don't think they were going to have it wasn't like a big CEO search. It was just like, we want Brian.
Yeah.
And like, what's he going to do? People have been joking about shrinking the drink sizes online. Again, I think that's just memes. I don't know what his actual plan is. The people who know what they're talking about say he did well at Chipotle was the member benefits program.
Oh.
And like online orders.
Uh-huh.
And, as a customer, their app is very good.
I agree.
I think they made it very efficient and they streamlined it. And now in the stores, they have like 2 whole separate lines where the food comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very fast in the store and in delivery. So that's the kind of thing I would look to expect from Starbucks.
I would hope that's something that he works on, because I mean, I don't know. For me, it's just price too. The price is bananas. I'm paying $8 for a coffee, but
who knows?
Who knows? If you can make those things better, maybe people will still pay it. So.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Well, let's move on. It's Tuesday. We love to hear from you, our brilliant and hilarious listeners, about the things that you care about. We love that you respond directly to our show. We've got some thoughts from you all on some various topics. What have we got, Paul?
Okay, we want to do this one. I want to do this one quick, and this one's really just for you, because it's a response to the show you did last week with our friends from Westward, Katie Cheshire, and the Denver Post, Megan and Lonnie Boynton, about renters.
Renters and landlords, yeah.
So this is a text from Anonymous. They say, hey, CityCast, how about some balanced reporting regarding tenants and landlords? Ever consider that tenants don't pay timely rent or maintain the property respectfully?
I mean,
have you ever considered that?
No. I'm thinking about the kinds of stories we were talking about.
Yeah.
No water.
Yeah.
Trash.
Trash mountains.
Trash mountains of trash.
Rat infestations.
Rat infestations. Unlivable conditions for families trying to send their children to school during the first week of school. I mean, this is the side of the story we were telling. And what I think is interesting here is Katie even shared she had a great landlord, and these were the reasons she was great. She also understood that was a lottery, luck of the draw thing. You don't know what kind of landlord you're going to get, just as I assume a landlord. No, a landlord has a little bit more power because they do background checks and they get first and last months. You know what I mean? There's a little bit more research into your tenant than the tenant maybe gets to do or gets to know about you as a landlord.
Yeah, they definitely have more power. I mean, inherently,
Yeah.
you're paying them. I mean, they have more power than each individual renter. But I think, as Katie and Megan were pointing out, when renters unionize and collectively work together, then maybe they have a little more power than the landlord.
But I loved also Katie talked about that in the story or in our conversation. She said, just talk to your neighbors and see what's going on. Maybe you guys have some similar issues that you can go to your landlord with. And I don't know. I mean, I see this person's point, but I also think that we're just at a time where we're talking about these issues, and this is how it's going. It's a tough world out there to be a renter. I imagine for maybe the mom and pop landlord, it's a tough place to be too.
I do want to make one more point on this
Sure.
before we move on, because I've heard there's a lot of discussion about evictions and like the evictions crisis lately.
Yeah.
And people are like, you hear like progressives often talk about, how do we stop evictions? Like evictions are the problem, evictions. And I think I think this person anonymously who wrote in, they might say, it's not necessarily the eviction itself that's the problem. It's the situation that led to the eviction,
Sure.
which means someone wasn't able to pay their rent.
Sure.
Nobody wants to do an eviction. The landlord would rather have someone paying rent regularly every month. The tenant who signed up to live there would much rather be able to pay their rent every month.
Yes.
I'm sure. It's not the eviction that's the cause of this conflict. It's like the broader context for
How we
each
get there.
for each of the people.
Yeah, and I also just think with the evictions crisis we have right now, there's a lot of conversation, again, not about the mom and pop landlords as much as the large corporations that trigger evictions immediately and there is no leeway time, right?
Yeah.
That's where I think the struggle really seems to be pushing things into a more dire situation. Because I know I have a lot of friends who are own another property and rent it out. Of course, it messes them up if someone doesn't pay rent for 3 months. They're still paying the mortgage on that place. So I can see where that would be something that doesn't get talked about as much. I would just think that the level of evictions we have at this time is maybe more due to these larger companies' processes. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's an ongoing conundrum for sure, because if you ask housing advocates, what's the number one way to keep people from getting back on the street and getting back into this cycle of living on the street is keeping them in the place they're in to begin with. So
but that to me is about
complicated.
the economy itself, the broader economy. What I read when we had this story from the Post a couple of weeks ago about the record evictions happening again this year, was that one of the big causes was that the pandemic era emergency renter support funds have dried up.
Yeah.
So it's just the money. It's just like people can't pay their rent and they're not getting this extra money anymore.
And I think that the pandemic just exposed a problem that was already happening, right? Clearly, because people still need that support, and we're not out of the pandemic, but you know what I mean? Like, I can just see where that just exposed an issue that was already starting to happen. Maybe people were just not able to pay their rents. Our rents are expensive.
I mean, the rents are expensive, but no one's signing up to pay rent that they can't afford.
No.
Like, you're not intentionally doing that as a renter.
Absolutely not. I don't know a single renter who's, absolutely. You're trying your best to.
So what happened is, between the renter signing the deal and getting evicted, something changed in their life.
Right, which may have been employment, may have been health, may have been a family member, or maybe there's so many. That's what makes this issue so complicated. Mm-hmm. It's not just the renter-landlord situation. It's like you said,
the whole economy.
The economy, the environment, the family, all these things. So it's tough. It's tough.
It's very interesting, though.
Yeah.
We'll keep talking about it.
We will.
Landlord Watch is on.
Non-stop.
Landlords, call in. Tell us your side of the story. We're clearly not giving your side of the story enough for this anonymous texter. I would love to hear from you. 720-500-5418. Landlords, please call in.
All right. What's next?
All right, we can do this one quick. We're
Okay.
about at time. But this one is great. It's just a factual clarification from our show on Friday where we talked about air conditioning and DPS.
Honestly, I love when people do this.
I
Help
know.
us out.
Me too.
Fact check, always welcome.
But so this is a text from Becca who writes, "Hi CityCast, my name is Becca and I was on the DPS committee for the upcoming bond." So this is the bond where we're going to vote on in November, including installation for air conditioning. And Becca says, "A question that came up in Friday's episode was why DPS didn't put AC in all the schools in the 2020 bond. One of the big reasons is capacity to do the construction and the supply chain. The construction can be pretty much only done over summer while kids aren't in the buildings, and the city and the school district don't have enough construction capacity to get more than 8 or so schools done per summer." Hope that helps.
Oh, I wonder then if that's going to be part of when they do this next bond, if it passes, is there some space in there for hiring additional people, temporary? I don't know. It's just like, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, this next bond, they say that it's enough money for all the remaining schools that don't have AC. So it seemed maybe this is the end of this whole no AC in school situation. But I thought that was really interesting.
And I just want to I just want to give a shout out to all the teachers that are dealing with this thing right now. I have friends that are teachers. I have a friend who's a teacher in a middle school. So think about 30 bodies in a room. She doesn't even have windows. And so also stinky 6th graders, but
Oh boy.
But like it's a real thing. I can't imagine. Also, you know how you feel when you're too hot. It's hard to think. So
Yeah, it's a problem.
hopefully, we're going to be talking more about this bond.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, thanks, Paul. This was fun.
See you next time, Brie.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Sean Keeler about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.
Rattle it off for me. Give it to me like you'd give it to the barista.
Venti, half decaf Americano, extra ice.
I'm lost already.
Vanilla sweet cream, cold foam, 2 Splenda.
I don't know if I got the name of a drink in there.
Venti ice, half decaf Americano.
Okay. Venti ice,
Extra
half
ice.
decaf. Half decaf?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.